Hello everyone, Lazy Game Dev here, solo developer of Thornetica, a Fire Emblem-like strategy RPG that takes place in a theater club. If you're new around here, sit back, relax, and, well, I've disappeared for quite some time, right? So I better make up for it, sharing some of the advancements and new quality of life stuff I've added into the game. There have been quite a lot of advancements. So, I sought to make the game feel more like a game, more like a full game, instead of like some isolated levels with minimal options, implement some like actual long-term tools and options that will help the player strategize throughout the map, give it like the actual options that make it look not like demo. I'm explaining it terribly, but basically now when you start a map, there's this like menu of there's a pre-fight menu of options that you get to choose from. You can start the map outright, or you can reposition your units, which means you have your starting positions set for each map, but you can choose which units start in which position. So if you want your engineers at the front to build some defenses, or you want your cavaliers at the front to quickly overwhelm the enemy, you can change them around, except some units that are might be mandatory to be at specific positions, such as the main character James Kent, who is usually a fixed position, right? This is kind of like a silly option, but Fire Emblem games have it anyways, and it like adds to the menu. It makes it seem longer, and it was very easy to code, which is not something I can say for many of these. So I went ahead and added it. This is the view map option, where you can just kind of take a look at the map. Now you're gonna tell me, well, can't you do that already in the reposition option? Yes, you can. And you can also look at the map normally when you start the fight, because it's like a turn-based game, so there's like no timer or need to rush or anything. But I guess you can view the map and then choose to reposition or use the other options for stuff like that. You can also, in the view map option, you can also preview enemy and ally movement and attack range, which you can't in the reposition option. So it does have some stuff, right? Then you can check the objectives. People have been telling me in the reviews for the game that in the reviews for the demo, which is out, and you should try it right now if you have not tried the demo. Or what are you doing? Stop watching this video, go try the demo. It's great, it's awesome. People have been telling me though that the objectives flash for too short of a time at the beginning of the map. I don't know if it was like 2 seconds before. I extended it to like 3.5. But I don't know, you might still miss them, you might not have time to read them. You can see them at any time with clicking the pause button, which I feel was intuitive enough, but some people didn't get. So I also added a little text that says pause at any time to see the objectives when the objectives show up for the first time. But anyway, you can also see them at the beginning of the map through this menu. Then the equipment is quite tough. It's quite tough because it's in appearance, it's the same equipment menu that you can access in the backstage sections of the game. And it's very classic in this strategy RPG type of game, where you have like a general cart and the individual inventories of your unit, and you can move your items from the cart to each of the units and equip them. It works. In the backstage it worked perfectly, but the thing is, here the units have already spawned, so it's kind of a mess, the whole like load everything from the inventory and spawn the correct items. The items in general is like a nightmare. But it wasn't too much of a headache. I thought it was going to be worse. It really isn't that much. It's basically like, this code that the unit has to load its items from the inventory. Well, if the equipment option is selected, whenever the inventory is closed, just reload and do that option again. Erase all of the items and see what the new items that the player has chosen are, and yeah, just apply the new items. Okay, the options menu brings up the game's options. They have they were also quite shit when the demo was first released, but I think it is patched now with better options. They are subcategorized, it works a lot better. Honestly, I knew from the beginning I had to redo this options menu. It was initially like the only menu in the game that wasn't using my menu system. It was using like the Godot UI system, and it was heavily built upon a settings plugin that I just found because I found it very convenient, because it already had like audio settings and resolution settings and all that stuff I didn't know how to do, so I just kind of built it upon that. But making it behave differently from every other menu in the game caused some problems, specifically that the way the UI in the Godot system works makes it so that it has like embedded windows, which PC handles fine, but other stuff that is not PC doesn't. And I do want this game on consoles eventually, and I have been trying it a lot on Steam Deck because it's very comfortable, and this menu did not work at all on Steam Deck. So just because of that, I was like, okay, that's a signal, it's time to like completely axe and redo this menu. And that in itself is like a silly thing, but it did take a couple of days. So you can access it here, you can access it also if you pause mid-match, like always. That doesn't change. Then you have the backstage option. The backstage option is to go back to the previous backstage. You can also do this on the pause. I'm a bit conflicted now about this, because initially having this option to go back to the backstage was like, okay, what if the player has like not prepared at all, you have no items, and you're basically soft locked because you cannot beat the level and you cannot get more items unless you go to the backstage. You can go to the backstage, but now there's the equipment and the, well, yeah, there's the equipment option, and there's also the casting option. I'll talk about that in a bit. But since there's the casting and the equipment option now here baked in the fight, the backstage option loses relevance, because it's a bit weird to go back in time to the backstage, even though it's like the just previous section 5 minutes ago. But the only thing you can do in the backstage that you can't do here in this menu is buy more items at the shop. So maybe I should just include the shop here. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. I think it works okay for now, even though it's a bit weird. And then there's the change casting, right? I saved this one for last because this is the menu that I hate the most about the game, other than like the main menu. It's a nightmare. People have been telling me for so long it's very unintuitive. I've done my best to try to give clues and instructions on what to do. It's kind of hard. I don't know if you think about this, but if you have like no idea what the game is about, it's kind of fucking hard to make a menu where you have to cast a actor as a role in a play, and you have to complete each role, but you have to also be able to see how the stats changes, and there's a lot of information, and Thornetica isn't working with that many pixels on the screen at the same time. I can't just like make stuff smaller because there aren't enough pixels. So it's a lot of information to display on a very low, on quite a small screen. And then you add like translations into the mix, and it overcomplicates everything also. I've been thinking for some time that I have to rework this, mainly because we were running into limitations post chapter 5, act 5 in the game. On act 6, there's a lot of roles. There's a lot of roles in the play, players, enemies, more than in any other act. Basically, they go increasing in each act. You start act 1 with 4 roles. I think act 2 is another 4 roles. I think act 3 is maybe 5? Yeah, 5 roles. And act 4 is a bunch more. I think it's like 7. There's like, well, it depends on how many units you have in your party at that time and how many enemy bosses you are fighting in the map. But yeah, as the story progresses, you get more party members. So there's a point, which is in map 6, where the amount of roles surpasses 8. And why is that relevant? Because you only have 8 actors available, plus Gerard, which is locked to James Kent. And that is a problem, because what do we do? Do we allow some roles to be uncasted and make them like stand-ins? That presents mechanically a lot of issues. Do we allow a single actor to play multiple roles? That's interesting. It presents a bunch of other issues, and it might be weird, but you are also leaving it up to the player, and we can mitigate some of the issues. I've ended up going for this route. So the scene has the menu for casting has been changed quite a lot to accommodate for the possibility of one actor being able to fulfill multiple roles. And that's going to be tied to your friendship with said actor, which is a whole other system that I still need to connect those two, but it should be okay. And also not, because then we run into another issue, which is what if you are for some reason ignoring the backstage completely and you have not befriended anyone in any rank, you have zero support with anyone. You should still be able to progress. You should not be locked to not be able to progress Act 6 because you don't have enough capabilities to cast every actor because of your low friendship. Well, to accommodate for this, I've made that not all of the roles are mandatory, and I went ahead and also previewed which roles will appear in the fight and which ones are purely like for the cutscene, so you can take that into account when previewing stats, right? So yeah, that solves a lot of the issues, not all of them, because I still need to like add some animations and stuff. What happens if the same actor appears in the scene at the same time doing two different roles? We'll figure it out. I've spent a lot of time talking about this. What other stuff have I done? I've spent the better half of a quarter of an hour talking about the single menu, so I'll do everyone a favor and just shut it and go back to work. Bye.